Okay, let's get this show on the road. Ignore the mess of yarn. Alright, Ninja Doll is what I call this one. Because he or she reminds me of a ninja. But this isn't the style we're going for. Or the gender compilation problem. This is the style we're going for. She will be pretty much the same except for the arms and the base. This is creative side. This is the side you're going to want to do eventually, once you get the idea of how to make a yarn doll down. Alright, things you will need. Something to wrap around. I don't recommend a cup, but that's all I had at the time. Alright, lots of yarn. The more yarn you have, the more options you have for colors. Unless you all have all the same colors. Scissors. Please don't play with them like I did. That, for a college student, that was pretty immature. Sharpness needs to be on a high level. Now the fun part. Wrapping the yarn around this cup of mine. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Half of this was done in time lapse. Well, a majority of it was done in time lapse. But I call this end the beginning piece, and you'll understand what I'm talking about later. But essentially, you just wrap it around the cup. I recommend using a small piece of cardboard or something that is flat as a paper. Now let's wrap the rest of it in time lapse. Alright, it wasn't thick enough, so I wrapped a few more, but now let's cut the yarn. Snip. Now I cut the end of the yarn near the beginning of the yarn, so it's all at the base, so I don't have random strands just off the head or coming out the neck or out the torso. Now, we want to take a piece of string and go through the head where you want the head to be, and then you're going to cut that and tie a very tight knot so you can keep everything together, especially when you go to cut the bottom base. Now, I didn't remember to put that part in, so you won't get to see that part. But essentially, you're going to take your scissors, align the bottom, and start cutting away until all of it's separated at the bottom. Now let's play the catch-up game real quick. 3, 2, 1. Hope you caught up. Okay. Before we cut the base, we're going to make the head. Because I decided we make the head first. Now you really don't have to do that part in order, but making the head and then the torso would be the easiest. Now, cut a string long enough for you to wrap around the head. I chose a different color than the body, so I can make it look like a choker, necklace, that type of thing. If you're wondering, the reason why the black strings are still attached instead of me cutting them off are so I have something to hold on to show you the doll and for easy, but later on I will cut it. Make sure you tie that knot tight. And then you wrap around. And then you tie a knot. Now, trim the excess. Now, you could tie a bow to make it all your own, but I had my nails done that time, so yeah, that wouldn't happen. It wouldn't look very nice. So, I cut it off. Snip, snip. I hope you tied a knot, by the way. If you didn't, I'd do that real quick before you do this. Alright, halfway done with this video. Now let's cut the bottom or the feet. Now I forgot to include that part, so if you listen to the instructions earlier, I'll explain them again. Basically, take your scissors and go through the loop, kind of like how we did the black string, except it's your scissors and you're cutting. Maybe your bottom feet. Now this part, you gotta trim the excess to make it flat, because that's what I wanted for this doll. Make it nice and neat. Ta-da! Because I'm a perfectionist though, not all the strings were perfectly lined up together, so I just kept cutting. Now, a trick I like to do is I like to lay it down. After I show you what I've done, I like to lay it down. You see some of those strings being not very flat? Well, I like to do this to make them flat. Alright, let's make the arms. Now this is another thing I meant differently about the lighter doll that this one's based off of, is instead of tying something around the wrist to make the wrist, we're going to take 4 strands, or how many you want, thicker the wrist the better for you, I guess. I used 4. Alright, now you're going to twirl that around your finger. Twirl, 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 twirl. And then once you've got that twirled, you're going to make a knot. And that'll be your hand. I guess you could say it's bottled up in a fist. Or you can give it 4 fingers. Either way, you're going to trim it once you get that part. See? Now, it doesn't stay twirled, but it has a little bit of a spin on it. So, I like doing that spinning part. And it's easier to turn into a knot. Now, trim the excess. I trimmed it all the way down, but you could leave enough where it looks like fingers. That's up to you. Now, I'm gonna do it again, but for the other side and in time lapse. Ta-da! Alright, let's make the torso and or belly, whichever you know the word by. Now, take another string. I chose the same color as the necklace, so it would look like a belt. Give her a little... Now, you could just stop here if you want her to have a dress, but I kept going because I wanted a torso. I want to make it look like she had a skirt on. I like the belts. You notice by all my other dolls. Haha. Now, make sure the lines are evened up. Well, not lines, but the yarn. And then you tie it. And this time you tie this one into a knot so you know it's secure. And then you twirl it around. Sorry, my brain went blank. And then you tie that into a knot. Now I did do some of this in time lapse, because for the sake of this video, I don't think you want to be here that long. Okay. Last thoughts? Anything you want to say? I guess I'd have to say I love the doll. It's not perfect, but that is okay. Now, you could brush out the bottom of the dress like I did this character. Well, doll. You could tie a bow around its neck. You could tie its belt, but have a strand out and brush that out like I did. You could braid the arms. You could give it hair. You could do anything. My ninja doll, oh, not that one. That one is what we based it off of. But that doll has eyes. Now, I didn't make the ninja doll. That was actually made by my awesome aunt. But the others I made. See, you can do anything, and you can do it with people. It's like a little family. Now, I forgot to trim off the excess on that part, but that's okay. Credits.